Stream status is good. That's strange. And we've got a clock. It is time to rock. All right. Pretty sure that everything, yep, that's cool. That's good. All of our little buttons are set and happy. All right, there we go. All right, everything's good. At least it looks okay. So I hope that everything's looking good on your end. I kind of had the whole rig here disassembled for New Year's because currently I'm doing this in the dining room, and we were using the dining room for a New Year's shindig, so I had to take down the camera and all the stuff. And it seems to have gone back together, so hopefully so far so good. As it is a morning, my voice is screwed up. I'm not quite sure what's all about that. It is gray. It's pretty dark. It's not terribly cold. It's 26 Fahrenheit, which is, I don't know, -3, -4 Celsius. I'm not quite sure. My weather app doesn't show me both. I wish it did. Anyway, hello from Cape Canaveral Space Coast. Well, that's pretty cool. Morning from Baton Rouge. Let me see. Texas, foggy and cold. Georgia. What else have we got? Hello from Massachusetts. Kansas City. Kobe, Japan. Painting Mantic Marauders to proxy for Kill Team. That's pretty cool. Let me see here. Linkoping, Sweden. Florida's first coast. Salutations from Glossop, UK. Cumbria, UK. Wales. Dublin. Clearwater, Florida. St. Augustine, Florida. Ohio. Calgary, Alberta. Wyoming, the Netherlands. Bremen, Germany. Gray and perfect here, or gray and rainy here, perfect for painting. No, that's not. You're not wrong. Bellevue, Washington. Let's see here. Liam says, not been here for 5 months. Good to be back. Good to see you, Liam. Howdy from San Antonio, Birmingham, UK. Belfast, Ireland, the Netherlands, Spain, Plymouth, UK, Rochester, Belgium, Doncaster, Manchester's, a lot of UK today. Yorkshire, Milwaukee, which is not in the UK. Toronto, southwestern Ontario. It was 80 degrees in South Georgia, where I live last week. Wow, I like it. As I get older, I'm not a big fan of the cold, but I don't want it to be super crazy hot either. What are you going to do? Denmark, Baltimore, Rhode Island, Colorado, Bangor, Maine, Timbuktu, Sydney. Hey, VJ, how you doing? Sacramento, Mexico City, Austria. What else have we got? Morning from Temple, Texas. Not foggy, but a little chilly. Norway, North Florida, Wexford, Ireland, Pittsburgh, Poland, Dartford, Chorley. Dartford and Chorley are in the UK as well. The Emperor says there's 2 to 3 inches here in Baltimore. From what I understand, that's not good for Baltimore. 2 to 3 inches here in Wisconsin, that's a normal day kind of sometimes, and we just shovel and go to work. But I've got an uncle-in-law, I guess you would say, who lives in Baltimore, grew up here though, and he said that when it snows even a little bit over there, that things go a little pear-shaped. So hopefully everything's going well over there. New Zealand, St. Louis, Cozumel, Mexico. Oh, neat. I hear that's a vacation spot. I heard that name linked to vacations. Good morning from Las Vegas. I'll be in Las Vegas in less than a month, which I'll talk about a little bit later on. Let's see here. Leicester, Corby, North Carolina. VJ Morph says, so let's talk minis. How awesome are the new Gloomspite Gits? Funny story. My wife said to me, it was her birthday. We were having dinner. We went to a Thai place that she likes. And she said, there's these new Games Workshop miniatures. They're like weird little goblin guys. And she was explaining them to me. And I pulled out my phone and I found some pictures and I showed them to her. And she's like, yeah, those guys. She had seen them on some website. that she had been looking at for work, something to do, and because she works at a bookstore, and sometimes they carry stuff, and she reads a lot of different like websites that talk about books, but also comic books and movies, and frequently also games and toys and stuff. And anyway, she thought that the Gloomspite Gits were pretty awesome, and she really likes them. And so I think we're going to start with, because I already have the, whatever the heck the box is for Night Vault with the little goblin-y dudes in it. I picked that up, but I haven't built it yet. So maybe we'll start with some Shadespire and see what she thinks of that. And I don't know. I don't know that she'll necessarily be interested in having an entire Age of Sigmar army. And secondly, she has already said that she's not super interested in painting, because she's already got a craft, and she's a musician, and also she knits. So anyway, but she thought they were cool. So evidently you and my wife VJ are on the same page as far as that's concerned. I think they're kind of cool looking. I'm glad to see them. Brian Hubbard asks, what's your current painting project? What are you working on? Well, right now I'm actually working on orcs, the orcs for Shadespire. This past Monday, I did a hobby progress vlog, my first hobby progress vlog, where I talked about what I was planning on doing for them and how I was planning on going forward with these orcs, and my thought process, because those hobby progress vlogs are going to be not me showing you what I'm doing, like physically, like, oh, this is how I paint his left hand, Instead, it's going to be me saying, I know what I want to do in my head, and I'm trying to figure out the steps to get there. So I was discussing about whether I was going to prime them green or whether I was going to prime them black. Now you might say, well, why would you prime them black? I want their armor to look like it was predominantly kind of painted black, and a lot of it was scraped off. So my thought process was, if I prime them all black, then I can dry brush the black armor parts silver and go really crazy. And if I get some of it onto the skin, it's fine, because then I will go back and paint the skin green over the top of that. If I prime them green, then I have to go through and paint all the armor parts black, secondly, and there's a lot of armor. Like, there's not a lot of skin showing on those particular 4 models. But then I would have to dry brush and be very, very careful to not get silver dry brush onto the green skin where it bumps up against the armor. So spoiler alert for those of you waiting for next week's, and not tomorrow, but next week's episode, I primed them black. So they're in progress. Those Monday shows will be the opposite weeks kind of the Every Other Sunday show. So since there's an Every Other Sunday show today, there will not be a Monday show tomorrow, but then the following Monday, because there won't be an Every Other Sunday show, there'll be this. So it's kind of how I'm trying to do it for now. And we'll see how it works out. And it won't just be hobby progress vlogs on those Monday shows. There'll be other things as well. So that'll be good. And basically, I'll just have a bunch of different episodes, hopefully, that I'll be able to kind of put in to sort of supplement in between going forward. Ray Barker says, ask her to knit you some gits. I don't know that she could do that. I mean, I have seen people who will crochet and make little people, like little figures and stuff like that. And she does know how to crochet, but she hasn't done it for quite some time. She likes knitting better. Life Blighter says, my best friend's wife painted an orc army and then put them in a fish tank and won't let anyone touch them. That's interesting. That's kind of fun. Lee Parkin. Hello from the UK. What are your thoughts on Ideneth Deepkin? Any cool ideas for them? I'm thinking collecting them for my 2000 Age of Sigmar army. I was really hoping they were going to be fish people instead of just wet elves. That's kind of what I said when they came out. I was really hoping to be like scaly, bug-eyed fish people, almost Cthulhu-y, and instead they were basically just wet elves riding on turtles and stuff. So that's not my personal opinion. They're well sculpted, don't get me wrong. They're amazing looking. So if you like that aesthetic, then definitely, go that direction. I personally was hoping for something a little bit different. So, yeah, that's kind of where that's at. Uncle Adam, what do you use to prime with your airbrush? I generally use Vallejo surface primer. Sometimes I use Badger's Stynylrez, it's called. Partially, it depends on what color I need, because they both have colored primers, and I would definitely look into, if you're getting into airbrush, definitely look into colored primers, because it'll save you a step in a lot of situations. But it depends on which color from which manufacturer I have. A lot of them kind of match up. Badger and Vallejo seem to have a lot of the same colors. But, yeah. Let's see here. Brandon Dollar says, I used to dry brush silver over black armor. It looks great, but I can't figure out why orcs would have buckets of black paint. My thought would be that they would actually probably be using like soot or something like that and rubbing it on the armor, which is why it would come off real easy. And they just basically are trying to make it look a little bit darker and scarier. That's my thought, at least. I don't. My question is, why would they have buckets of yellow paint? But if you look at all the stuff on the GW site, when you show off those models, the armor's always painted yellow, and I'm always like, that seems weird to me. But that's why I'm not doing it that way. Let me see here. Game Analyst says, excuse me, will you start uploading these videos as podcasts on iTunes, etc.? No, I won't. It's a ton of work on my part, and it doesn't. It's just not. I don't see the benefit to it on my side, and I know that some people are like, yeah, but I want to listen to it as a podcast, but it's just I don't at this point see myself doing it because there's a lot of work to podcasting and getting all the right RSS feeds and doing all that jazz and just so it's just not even an area I'm really looking at going towards. So there's that. There was a second part to that question. I apologize. It scrolled off the top. Let me see if I can go find it. Also, I'm just coming back to Warhammer. Are the Deathcore of Krieg competitive in this edition? I'm probably not the guy to ask about being competitive because I'm not a good player. Let's just say that. So I don't know about that at all. I know that they're still out there. I've got a small little set of them that I bought years ago at Adepticon. One of the first years I think that Forge World would come to Adepticon. I just wanted to buy some Forge World because I'd never bought something before, and I thought, well, if I can buy it here and not just pay shipping, might as well. But I've yet to paint them, actually. Speaking of primers, says Brian, do you use any Rattle-Can primers? I'm finding more and more paint and primer products, and I'm worried that they'll be too thick and heavy for good details. Excuse me again. Yeah, one of the main ones that I love to use is Krylon makes a line of camouflage paint. It's 6 colors. It's black, dark brown, 2 shades of tan, and 2 shades of green. And I use them all the time because they have a very flat, matte surface. They're very fine mist. They work really well. That's the ones that I use a lot. Like if I need to prime black and I'm using a Rattle-Can, let's say for terrain, I generally like to Rattle-Can prime terrain because it goes quicker. Also, that stuff has got something that they call fusion technology built into it, so it sticks to plastic a lot better. So if it's a plastic piece of terrain kit from, like, say, Games Workshop or Weird, the guys who make Malifaux, they've got some really cool plastic terrain now too. If I spray it with that stuff, I know it's going to stick a lot better, and then over time, moving it around on shelves and bumping stuff into it and things like that, I know it'll hold its paint better, so I do that. Anthony B says, are you going to LVO this year? I am. Yep, I'll be, well, as long as the TSA and everything is still working, and the ATC, then I will be going there. If I have to drive, then I won't, so, because it's very, very far away. Let me see here. Atomic Dracula says, new guardsmen, that's what we need in 2019. That's very true, I think. I did a video about things that I think that Games Workshop needs to do in the next year or two, a couple weeks back or more, and new guardsman models was one of them, and I totally agree. David M. Corbin says, anyone excited for the Urban Conquest expansion? I saw it. I'm interested to see what kind of rules there are going to be for it. Like, the terrain stuff looks cool, but if you were just buying it for the terrain, it's $100 for just like 7 or 8 pieces of terrain, and they're all kind of little small ruined things. And I don't know that that's the way I would go, but if the rules for it were really interesting, like it was a whole campaign thing and all that kind of stuff, which I suspect is the case, then I would be interested maybe in going that direction. But yeah, definitely. Andrew Fairbanks says, good morning from the bathroom of my church. Well, good morning to you as well. William G says, living in a humid area, it's a pain to Rattle-Can paint. I gave up long ago and used Vallejo surface primer. Yeah, it's very frequently in the summer here, either sometimes too humid, sometimes it's not. And then in the winter, I just don't like doing it outside in the winter, A, because it's cold, but B, I've had people say, oh, you just go out and spray outside, and then you bring the model in, and then let it, everything. But the problem is if I bring the model in, then the model is outgassing the propellant from the Rattle-Can in the house, which is the main thing I'm trying to stop. So if I leave the Rattle-Can painted thing outside, then I've found in the past it gets sometimes the model, it can get bumpy or powdery, and I don't know why, but it's probably science. Yeah, so that's why I don't. I've had a lot of people recently going, "Oh, just Rattle-Can outside in the winter, it's fine." And I'm like, I've not had great luck with it, so that's why I don't. So yeah, Corvus Games Train says I'm sponsoring a table at LVO this year for Star Wars Legion. Well, that's cool. I'll have to stop by and say hi. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the convention. I went last year for the first time, and it's very cool. I'm going to be on a panel Friday night with other YouTubers, I'm assuming, and other types of people. And that's going to be fun. We did that last year, and I guess they're expanding it this year to a bigger room. I'm also going to be teaching my seminars, the one about the more kind of technical stuff and the one about the more content and branding and digital strategy kind of stuff. So hopefully if you got the chance, take a look at those. I don't know if they're on the website yet. I wish that they were a little bit more, that information was on the website a little bit quicker, but yeah. Moderator Matt says the TSA is still working. Currently, yes. We'll see how 3 more weeks goes. I apologize. I don't know what's stuck in my throat. Let's see here. What else? Renan Vargas says, "Hey there, first time I get to catch the show live." Well, welcome. We're glad to see you. Peter Husson says, "Hey Adam, I'm waiting for Kill Team Age of Sigmar style. Do you think I'll wait until I'm ancient?" Well, that was one of the things I mentioned in the video I did a couple weeks ago about things I want GW to do going forward, and I'm hoping that neither of us has to wait that long, but we'll see. A bunch of people have said that they were putting some expanded skirmish rules into the next, or the current, I'm not sure which issue of the White Dwarf, but yeah, I haven't looked at that yet, so I don't know. I would like it better if it was like a full-blown kind of a thing. Jack Lee Crimmin says, "What is rattle canning?" Rattle can is a spray can. So, when you shake a spray can and it makes that noise on the inside because there's a little doohickey inside there, that's also a rattle can. That's another, spray paint is another name for, or rattle can's another name for spray paint. Let me see. What else here? What else have we got? Corvus says, "Oh, I won't be at LVO myself, unfortunately. Can't make it over from Ireland." Well, I guess that's a good point. But you'll be sponsoring a table, so we'll get to see it over there. That's cool. Adam Strange says, "Hey, Adam, my daughter Rowan is here with me today and was wondering what advice you had for her on getting into the hobby." I guess I would probably say to start small and grow slowly. That's my advice for most things, frankly. Not just for getting into the hobby, but for getting into nearly anything. Start by practicing on like some older models, maybe some models that you guys get off of eBay, or some plastic army men or whatever from the grocery store. Prime them, mess with them, paint them, learn some things, and see what you think, because it's not exactly for everybody, but if you're interested, it's best to work on stuff that you can really experiment and kind of get the feel for before you start moving into the stuff that you might want to play with and you're going to look at for like a long time. There's plenty of people who started out by painting like the expensive models they bought right off the bat, and then those are their main troops for a while, and then they get better, and then they look at these main troops and they're like, man. And so, that's why I tell people it's a good idea to practice on something either that you get off of eBay, or maybe some Reaper bones, because they're pretty inexpensive, or if you, like I said, army men, you can get a whole bag of them for super cheap usually and crank out on them for a while and learn some things. And it's a good idea. Patrick Sunquist says, "Do you think that GW will publish the Sisters of Battle Kill Team rules at the same time as their Codex? If not the same time, very close to each other, probably. Like how Blackstone Fortress came out, and it came with 40k rules in the box, and then it was like maybe a month later almost until they actually released Kill Team rules for it. So there may be a bit of a lag time in there, but hopefully not. We'll see." Let's see here. Have you seen Cruel Seas? Looks pretty cool. Smaller ships and boats at a larger scale. I think submarines too. I saw an article about it, but I don't know much about it. I think it's interesting because it's like a World War II style maybe. Or I think, is it World War II? I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And so that's kind of an interesting thing, because that type of battleship style gaming has been generally only kind of handled by old men, at certain types of conventions and stuff like that, like historical conventions. I remember the first days that I went to Gen Con back in the 90s, you would have this like huge room, and it would just be like the entire floor was covered in little tiny battleships that were like maybe 3 inches long, and it just had a bunch of older guys who are probably my age now, or how old I am now in comparison. But yeah, and they would be pushing around these little ships and have little cotton puffs to show like, oh, these guys are, they're setting up a smoke barrier and that kind of stuff. And these just huge boards though, because they were playing to scale. And so I would come in and go, wow, this looks really interesting. And then you watch for about 5 minutes and go, it moves really slowly though. It is really kind of dull, at least in my opinion. So it's interesting to take that subject matter, which is generally towards the older style wargamer, and I feel like they're trying to maybe introduce it to the slightly younger ones. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes. Aaron says, been starting to play Adeptus Titanicus. Really such a fantastic game. I played a demo of it at Valhalla back in October. A guy who comes there frequently, he's been going there the last several years, from England. His name is Michael, and he had brought his set, which he had painted, and I wanted to try it out just because I wanted to have the experience. It wasn't to my liking specifically. Like, it was fine, and the models of course are gorgeous and the whole deal, but it was just a little slow to me. And so that's just my personal preference, though. But like I said, the models are amazing looking, and I know that people are liking it. It's obviously not one of their super popular games, but it is growing a following, so that's pretty cool. Let me see. JP Got Rockets says, I started with a couple of figures that I liked from the bookstore. Just get a couple of Reaper figures to learn techniques. That's also a very good point. Yeah, I mean, and it is that's one of the downsides to painting army men, is that maybe they're not necessarily the models that you like. You know what I mean? So if you can find some Reaper bones, which are pretty inexpensive, and start painting on ones that you think are cool looking, then that's painting a model that you think is cool looking always helps you to paint more. You know what I mean? So definitely. William G. says, when humidity is near or above the dew point, the compressed air coming out with the paint will instantly attract water molecules, condensation, which carries over to the model, and so a bumpy finish. Science right there. That's good to know. That makes total sense. Yeah, that's why humidity sucks for painting models, and that's why they get bumpy when that happens. So yeah, good work. Let's see here. People talking about Milliput. What else have we got? Cruel Seas is more skirmish than traditional historical games. Yeah, and I think that's part of what they're doing to try to attract the audience that is a little bit more younger, for lack of a better word, or whatever, but or used to basically quicker moving games. Let's see here. Serena says, Uncle Adam, I don't think I ever caught what Malifaux faction you play. When I was playing, and I haven't played in quite some time, I played, what the heck is his name? The old guy who kind of looks like Hulk Hogan. Von Schill? Let's say Von Schill. I think that sounds right. I had that crew, and they were outcasts, I think. And then I also had, I was mostly outcasts. I went with them, and I went with the hired swords, the two Victorias or whatever, I think. I don't know. I think those are the only two factions that I played. I think I was pretty much mostly outcasts. I mean, I bought some other models here and there because I thought they were cool, but I knew I was never going to really put them into anything specifically. But that's kind of what I played at the time. Ben asks, have you played Blackstone Fortress yet, Adam? No, I haven't. I've been working on some of the models, but honestly, I'm working on them to put them into my Imperial Guard kill team. I'm working on the Pious Vor, her name is, and the two Rattling sniper guys. They're going to both end up eventually into my Imperial Guard kill team. That's the plan. Trying to get 50 Blood Reavers and 40 Bloodletters painted before the end of the month for a tournament. Yikes, that's a lot. mean, I would tell you to start with a red primer. That should save you some time if you can do it. So yeah, that's a lot of work. Hey Adam, what do you think of an Age of Sigmar movie compared to a Warhammer 40k movie? I don't know. I mean, I think I could see it to some degree, but I think that people might almost. I feel as if it would maybe get a little confused with World of Warcraft movie. Maybe, I don't know. It's hard to say. I think that the 40k one, because 40k is a little bit more well known or liked or whatever, that might work out better overall. So, yeah. What else have we got here? Adam, Warlord has also done that with Blood Red Skies. Yeah, I've seen that one. The airplane World War II, skirmish style World War II fighter combat. Yeah, I saw that. Where did I see Blood Red Skies? Maybe it was Gen Con. I think I saw it at Gen Con, and there was a demo table in. I'm going to forget. Oh, it was the War Store. I think it was the War Store's booth. They had a demo table, and they had people from Warlord there teaching people Blood Red Skies, and it looked interesting. I still don't know to this day whether. I'm assuming you have to paint your own airplanes. I think that's the big difference between that and Wings of Glory, whereas Wings of Glory, the airplanes are pre-painted. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of turns out. And I don't know anything about the system in comparison to, say, Wings of Glory. The only one I've played of those types of games has been Wings of Glory. Adam, have you bought Kill Team Killzone terrain box? I think it's great value. You get a board and nice terrain. I haven't. I bought the original starter box, which from what I understand is coming back into print. And so I've got that terrain and that board. And I have built my own, well, built is a strong word. I have painted my own hard plastic board from Secret Weapon Miniatures. And I've been using that now too for Kill Team. But I have not bought any of the other special kill zones or whatever they're called, which I always get the name wrong on. I don't know why. Currently working on 150 first-gen GW skeletons. That's a lot of skeletons. Huge difference in size heft between these and the tiny second-gen skeletons. Drives me nuts. Can't put them together on a table. Size difference is too distracting. I mean, you could say that some of them are maybe halfling skeletons. Maybe not. Yeah, I know what you mean, though. That scale thing throws me off, too, sometimes. In different situations. I don't know that I've got any of the really old GW skeletons at all. My GW skeletons are much more recent, the ones that I have for my Death Army for Age of Sigmar. But yeah, that's it. The scale issues can, like, even sometimes mixing, like, I can do it okay, but mixing my current GW skeletons with Mantic skeletons when I want like a whole bunch of skeletons to play Song of Blades and Heroes at like local conventions and stuff like that. When I kind of teach people Song of Blades and Heroes, I want as many skeletons as I have access to. So when I first started doing that, I had just painted up a bunch of Mantic ones, and then I started painting GW ones for my Age of Sigmar Death Army. So I kind of grabbed them to bring into these demos. And yeah, there is definitely a size difference. What else here? Carl O'Toole says, I'd love to see an Eisenhorn TV show. We need to start pestering people with the power to make that happen. Well, I'm not that guy, certainly. I don't know. I don't generally like television series. I know that makes me weird. Like when I'm going through like Netflix and stuff and you see like a thumbnail for something and you're like, oh, that looks cool. And you click on it and it finds out it's like, there's 2 seasons of it and there's 10 episodes per season. I just keep scrolling. Like I want to watch a movie. I want a story that's done in a couple hours and then I'm done and I don't have to, because I don't try to spend too much time in front of the TV screen, television-wise. I watch a lot of YouTube on TV. Otherwise, I'm painting and I'm doing stuff and whatever. I have been playing some more video games lately, which I'll talk a little bit about a little bit later on. But I've been doing a little bit of that lately as a kind of a paint break. Basically, after I get done painting for a while, my eyes start to hurt when I'm focusing too close for 2 or 3 hours, and then I need to kind of either watch YouTube, which is at a further focal distance, or maybe play a video game or something like that. So, but yeah, that's a lot of people in the comments for that video when I talked about the movie were like, "Oh, it should be an HBO series. It should be this series," and I'm like, I mean, that's fine. I mean, but I'm not going to watch it because I don't generally like to watch series. It's just a lot of times it seems to me, not in all situations, but for the most part, it seems like the first season of a series is good because they got all the story they wanted to get done. And then if it's popular and does well, then they're like, well, we got to keep going so we can keep making more money, and then they just sort of stretch everything out. And there are some series that they could go 13 episodes, and you're like, that could have been a movie. Like, really, you could have cut out this whole part because this didn't make any sense, and nobody cared about this. And it's a personal opinion, but that's where I'm at. Brandon Dollar says Primaris skeletons. See, there's your answer. You've got Primaris skeletons and regular skeletons. That's how come the scale is different. Good point. Reddit is full of people saying that the Kill Team starter box has been discontinued. Where did your information that it's coming back come from? Pretty sure a store owner friend of mine told me, and they have a GW contract. So, I mean, I would think it would be pretty stupid to not make the starter box anymore. I guess I could be wrong. My local store has got 5 copies still of the starter box, so I don't know if... I'd heard from him that he said that they're coming, and I swear I read someplace on Twitter that they're coming too. So, but people on Reddit are always right, so you should probably listen to those folks. I don't know if that's true. Have you been burnt by friendly local game stores in regards to pre-orders and special orders, long waits, and game stores don't even pre-order for chapter approved and released? The game stores are wearing me out. I mean, if you've got a lousy game store, it's a lousy game store. There's not much you can do about that. Not all game stores are like that, obviously. Yeah, if your local game store is doing it, well, basically, here's what you do, in my opinion. If your local game store, and it's the only local game store, it's cat shenanigans. If your local game store is like not getting you stuff and not ordering stuff and all that kind of stuff, then the answer is probably, if there's another game store, start working with them. Otherwise, let that game store know, hey, I order stuff from you and I do this, and you just kind of fail all the time. Maybe they don't realize that to some degree. And if they don't, then maybe they'll try harder. And if they go, yeah, well, that's just the way that we do it, too bad, then you go, oh, okay, cool. And then I would tell you, if there's no other local game stores around, then probably you have to order online if you want stuff like right away on the day that it comes out. Like if they don't order something and you don't get it on the day it comes out, and now it's out of print, like those relatively limited edition things, like that Noise Marine, I don't think that's going to be out there forever. Yeah, then I would say, I did a video a long time ago about supporting your local game store. But here's the trick, though. If you go and play at your local game store all the time, but you don't buy stuff from them because either A, you don't like the prices, or they're just bad at getting you stuff or whatever, then that becomes a bit of an issue. You know what I mean? If you're going and playing there, I would still tell you to buy some things. Maybe you just buy things that they already have on the shelves. And if you need something that's going to be potentially out of stock real soon, or it's a limited edition or whatever, then I would tell you to order some of that stuff online. And if they give you a hassle about that, be like, well, I would have ordered it from you, but I knew I wasn't going to get it because of these last 4 things that I can, point at where you didn't get me the stuff that I ordered. There's some logic involved in that. You don't have to absolutely support your local game store. There's a lot of people that are like, yeah, but I don't ever go in my local game store. In the comments for that video, there were a lot of people that are like, I don't ever go into my game store because I don't like that place, so why should I support it? And then I said, well, if you don't ever go there, then you don't have to support it. You know what I mean? Like, if you never go to the store, you never play there, you never buy anything there, I'm not telling you have to go buy stuff from there. But I am telling you that if you go and you play at the local game store, and you do it relatively constantly, but you buy all your stuff from elsewhere because you like the prices better than you do at your local game store, I don't think that's right. Because you're basically using, like, it'd be, there's very little else out there. Like, you don't see people go, well, I buy all my clothes online, but I hang out at the local clothing store all the time because we talk about clothes or whatever. Because they'd be like, you're loitering, get out. You know what I mean? It's basically the same thing. So, anyway, that's my personal opinion on it. What else have we got? Oh, no, just a whole bunch of stuff. My chat jumped on me. Sorry. Someone asking about Game 4. Yeah, Game 4, we're not going to do as many conventions this year. We're going to be, I'm going to be at nearly as many conventions as I did last year. But Game 4, the app that's part of my day job that helps you find local gamers in your area and all that kind of stuff, it is we're going to be at the Gamma Trade Show in Reno, but we're not going to be at I'm going to be at Origins, but we're not going to have a booth at Origins. We're not going to have a booth at Gen Con. That's still crazy, crazy expensive. But yeah, otherwise it's been working pretty well. So it's been going well. We're almost 27,000, I think, registered users, and we've got a bunch of new features coming in 2019 for it. So yeah, it's been going well. Next new feature, you heard it here first, I think. I think the next new feature is we're going to be adding convention listings to Game 4, so you'll be able to find local conventions also in your area or wherever you're traveling to or whatever, hopefully. So yeah, that'll be getting added very soon. Also friends list, that'll be getting added very soon as well. So the friends thing might be before the convention thing. So, but just anyway, Andrew Cook says that my local GW store manager says that the Kill Team starter is going out of print. Huh, all right, well, that may be new. Like I said, my local store owner told me, but he was not a GW store owner. He's a independent store owner who has GW stuff, and he said that from his rep that that was not the case. So, but this was several months ago. I don't know why they would take it out of print, other than the fact that maybe they were losing money on it. But it's, you know, the fact is that it was like $130. You got a decent amount of terrain and a board and all that stuff and the book and two sets of, like, two armies. If it was up to me, they would make that $100 set and take the armies out of it. You know what I mean? Like, keep the same terrain and the board and the tokens and the book and all that stuff. Get rid of those two armies, because what happens if you don't like those two armies? What happens if you want to play with the guys you already have, but you still want all that terrain and stuff? Make that $100 or whatever, and then call it a day. You know, I mean, that would be a good thing to put out there. But I don't know. We'll see. It was not in as limited quantities as Shadow War Armageddon. So there's that. But I don't know. That all being said, like I said, my local game store has probably still 5 copies of the original starter box. So if you're in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, you should stop by Flying Phoenix Games and pick one up. Let me see what else here. Serena says, my local game store is basically the reason why I'm still in the hobby. Also, they've got me into a lot of games and actually got me out of my shell, so now I play way more often. Absolutely, definitely. Emily says, pay where you play has always been my motto. I do order things online, but at convention and buy at conventions occasionally, but mostly weird clearance stuff that isn't made anymore that I couldn't order from my local game store. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Dorn's Apothecary says, should you ever sell an army? I mean, there were, when I did that video about regrets, wargaming regrets, there were people in there that in the comments that definitely said that they regretted selling their armies. I don't regret selling my Tau. Technically. Yeah, no, I don't really. When I had Sam's help in selling my Tau, yeah, I didn't, that's not a regret of mine. Like, there was a slight regret in that when I wanted to build a Tau kill team, then I had to buy some more Tau. But to be honest, the models that I bought, like the Pathfinder box that wasn't even out yet, really. The Pathfinders were still in metal when I was playing Tau, back in 5th edition. So, you know, that wouldn't have worked anyway. So, definitely. I don't know. It's up to you, but that's the way I would look at it. Ray Barker, with GW Specialist games, they often retire them, so Kill Team is going away, not surprising. Well, it's not going away. The starter box, if it's going out of print, that's one thing, but the main book is still going to be for sale for a long time. They had just recently announced another addition to it. They had announced Kill Team Arena. So Kill Team's not going away. It sounds to me as if, from what you guys are saying, that the starter box is going away, but you can still buy the book. That's still in print, because a friend of mine just recently, I know there was another printing of the book because a good friend of mine just bought the book in the local, not our local game store, but a local game store near him didn't have it, so they ordered more, and then they got them just in time for Christmas, I think. So, and they were ordering straight from GW. So I know they're still producing the main game book. They're still producing, obviously, the terrain and all that stuff separately. It just sounds like the main starter box. If that's not something they're going to keep producing, that's, yeah. Mr. Mixie, what's your Wargamer app called again? Well, it's not just a Wargamer app. It's for all tabletop gaming, role-playing, board games, collectible card games, all that stuff. It's called Gamefor, Gamefor. You can find it on the iOS store, the Google Play Store, and the website is iamgamefor.com. There you go. So you can find that information there. Let me see. People talk. DJ Todd P. Harris says, I agree, Adam, hence the reason why I haven't gotten it. If I do get into it, I'll just get the rule book, if nothing else. I already have a ton of games and miniatures I work on now. That makes sense. Liam says, Tau for sale. Indeed. I might have to make that a... I should try to make that a... what do you call it? An animated GIF and put it on the Discord channel. Which, by the way, one of I should mention that there is now a Discord channel for the patrons. So there's 3 levels of the patrons for the Patreon, and there's the $1 level, the $2 level, and the $4 level. The $4 level is known as the Uncle Adam's Irregulars, and there's now a Patreon channel for Uncle Adam's Irregulars. Bleh, sorry about that. That's not what I wanted. Anyway, there's the Patreon thing, patreon.com/tabletopminions. But nonetheless, yeah, so I got the Discord channel set up with some help from some people, and it's just basically kind of an area to be able to chat and stuff like that. There's also a voice thingy, so if people wanted to sit and talk with each other while they're hobbying, they could do that. But it just started up earlier this week. And if you're a Patreon supporter at the $4 level, the Uncle Adam's Irregulars, you have to go into Patreon, and there's a link I've put into Patreon where you follow the link and it tells you how to link your Patreon to your Discord, and then you're automatically signed up and everything's cool. So that's something that's recently new. So I've got to make little now emojis and a little fun custom stuff to put in there, and I should put in a little animated GIF of the Sam Tau for sale thing. Emily says, make Tau for sale a t-shirt or a shower curtain. See, that's there you go. Tau for sale should be a t-shirt, says Bennett. Well, yeah, maybe. Honestly, Sam should make the t-shirt for Tau for sale. That would make sense. But anyway, let me see here. Good morning from a snow-covered northeast Ohio. We had a little bit of snow a while ago, and then it went away. Which is, we've had a very little snow in Wisconsin this winter, which I'm fine with. Thank you. DM says, that thing in the background is staring into my soul. This is Nick Ramondo. It is my wife's cello case. The googly eyes here have been... they were donated by our friend VJ Morph, sent all the way from Australia, and he is a bit of a mascot to some degree. Yes, so Nick Ramondo. Matthew Sears says, we've been testing Discord by chatting during Sea of Thieves, which is true. Moderator Matt and I have been playing some Sea of Thieves. He's playing on the Xbox, and I'm playing on the PC. We've been doing that a little bit. Like I said before, I've been trying to take some paint breaks sometimes because, I'm old. And so when I'm focusing close and painting on something for a long time, I do it for a couple hours, and then I start to get this eyeball headache sort of thing, eye strain, I'm sure it is. And so then I kind of stop, and then I want to go sit someplace where I'm further away and focusing, not here, but I'm focusing on something farther away, something way over there. If it's on the television, I watch maybe some YouTube. But honestly, lately I've been alternating between some Sea of Thieves, and I've been alternating between that and Battlefield 5 on the PS4, PlayStation 4. And I'm kicking around the idea, this is one of my possible maybe plans for 2019, I'm kicking around the idea of doing some of that via streaming. over Christmas I picked up the company Elgato. They're the ones that make the little dongle that this camera is plugged into so that my PC thinks that this big fancy camera is actually a webcam. They make a lot of stuff for streamers, and one of the things that they make too, one of the first things they made was these boxes, and you plug your device, whether it's a computer or a PS4, into that, and then plug that into your TV or your monitor, whatever. But then there's also a USB cable that goes out to another computer, and then you can stream that way and things. It's basically a capture device. And so I picked one up with Christmas money that was on sale at Best Buy over the Christmas holiday, and I'm considering maybe doing a little bit of video game streaming, and it wouldn't be steady. It wouldn't be like every such and such day at such and such time or anything along those lines. I think it would happen from time to time. There would be times it might not happen because I'm busy doing other stuff or I'm traveling or whatever. But I've been thinking about it. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it would be here on YouTube because there is YouTube gaming. You know, there's YouTube streaming and that stuff. There's also Twitch. I already have a Twitch account. It's just twitch.tv/tabletop minions, I'm pretty sure. And so I've thought about doing it there too, although I've never really been I don't know. Like with the thing with Twitch is that it doesn't stick around, which is maybe beneficial for the video game thing. Whereas this, when I do these live shows here like this right now, they stick around for a long time. And so, you know, I can make it so they don't, obviously, if I want to. But I just don't know. I haven't quite decided whether it's going to be Twitch or YouTube. I could technically do both from what I understand as well. But yeah, so I don't know. We will see. Let's see here. David Hughes says, Sea of Thieves is great. Have you hit Pirate Legend yet? Oh gosh, no. No, we just started recently. And you know, when it first came out, it wasn't great from what I understand, but they've added a whole bunch of stuff to it. And so I've been enjoying it. Plus it's relatively low key, you know, which is more my thing. I'm not super competitive. Let's see here. What else? Kelly says, how do I log into the Discord channel as a member of the Irregulars? Like I said, there's a link. If you're a member of the Irregulars, there's a link in the most recent post that goes to an article, I think, written by Patreon, telling you how to link them. So just follow that link and read the article real quick. It'll show you. There's just a spot in Patreon where you put in your Discord information, like your username and password or whatever. Or if you're already logged into Discord, I think I can just see it and go, hey, do you want to link these two together? And you're like, yep. And then it's cool after that. Anyway, so that's one of the things I'm thinking about for 2019 is that I'm looking at the concept of maybe doing a little bit of video game streaming once in a while. I'm thinking about calling it Tabletop Minions Paint Break, because that's basically kind of what it would be. I don't know that I would actually... People have said to me in the past, hey, you should just like stream your painting, kind of like Sam does, because Sam's got a channel on Twitch, which is doing great. Twitch.tv/ I think it's Samson Minis. No, Samson Arts. Samson Arts, maybe. According to him, if you just go into the search thing and type in Sam Lenz, you'll find him. So, you know, you should follow him there. He streams 2 to 3 days a week, usually Wednesdays and Thursdays, like in the afternoon, my time. So, anyway, he's very, very good at being able to paint, answer questions in the chat, talk, and stuff like that. If you folks go back and watch the very, very first live show I did on here, well, okay, not the very first one. That one I did by accident. I was testing live streaming and actually started live streaming. I was in the basement on the workbench for some reason. But if you go back to the very first kind of show that I did like this, the plan was I was going to build, I think they were some sort of plague rats, plague priests or whatever, the Skaven little dudes. I was going to be building those while I was going to be talking, answering questions, and I just can't do those I can't do those things at the same time. I can sit here, talk, answer questions, but also trying to paint while answering questions, I can't do that. So that's why I don't. That's where that's at. So, yeah, I don't know. It's been a situation right now of me just looking at other kind of things I want to do, and I think that the paint break thing is a thing I may try, although I've got to do a bunch of... Like, basically, I need because it needs to, especially if I'm doing the Sea of Thieves thing on this computer, then it needs to stream to another computer, and so there's some shenanigans there. I might be able to stream to my laptop, and then go from there. So anyway, I'll figure it out or not. What else here? Let me see here. Brian Hubbard says, let's talk board game scenery. Do you use scenery kits like those sold by Games Workshop, or do you prefer to make your own scenery kits from scratch? For wargaming, I do a little bit of both. Lately, I've been mostly doing the store-bought stuff because there's just been so much good stuff out there from Games Workshop and other companies. So I've been doing a lot of that. I have done scratch building stuff. The issue that I have, again, and this is maybe a little tiny little bit of OCD-ness, is that I generally don't like to mix and match. Like either the board all needs to be scratch built or the board all needs to be not scratch built. You know what I mean? It kind of works better for me that way visually. So there's that. JP Got Rocket says that Nick Raimondo guards the liquor cabinet from the cats. That's also partially true. Yeah, that's true. Also guards the cello that's inside of him. So there's that too. Let me see here. What else have we got? I can't find your app in the App Store, I was told. If you just go to the website, you'll be able to find it there because it'll link to either App Store. So if you just go to IamGameFor, so IamGamefor.com, you will be able to find right at the top of the page, it's got a link to the Apple one and the Google one. So you should be fine. But you should be able to find it in the normal App Store. If you're spelling it all as one word, Game4, all one word, should work. So anyway, that's one of the things. Riot54 says, if you tried a pair of reading glasses for painting, might help with the eye strain. I have. I haven't found the right ones yet, maybe, but I've kicked around that idea as well. I've also found that if I take some ibuprofen before, then I can usually paint longer, but I'm technically just making it so I don't notice the pain, so that's maybe not necessarily, I don't know if that's good or not. It's probably not good. It sounds not good. Should I buy the Kill Team Core rulebook or wait for some sort of definitive version? If you want to play now, I would buy the book now. I don't know that they're going to make like a big, thick, definitive version. It seems like they're doing it a little bit more modularly, where they've got the main book, but then there's also like they added on the Commander book, and they also added on the stuff for Rogue Trader, and it sounds like they'll do... I mean, I guess there's a slim chance they may decide that they're going to make a big, huge, thick book with Commander and Arena and Rogue Trader and all the other stuff inside of there, but that probably won't be for a year. So I guess if you don't want to play this year, that's possible. But if you want to play like sometime soon, I mean, it's $40. It's not a huge deal. And like I said, if they do make a version where they stick them all together, it probably won't be... It will be an expensive book, and it will be a good thick one too, because just like... I don't have it near me, but the Commander's book is not quite as thick as the main rule book, but it's still a decent thickness, you know, and just... I don't know that they would necessarily be like, oh, for $40 you get all of the expansions, you know what I mean? Like, it would be more expensive. So, yeah, it's... I can see that. Let's see here. What else have we got? Samson Arts. Moderator Matt has said it is twitch.tv/Samson Arts. I was like, Samson Minis is maybe his Instagram? I don't remember. But yeah, Samson Arts, that's what he's doing. Hey, Adam, have you ever thought about increasing your presence on Twitter? There's a nice community there, and I find one-to-one communication gets easier. You can share your works in progress every once in a while. I've never been a super huge fan of Twitter. I'm not quite sure why. I have a tendency to put more stuff on Instagram, but generally I have my Instagram set so that if I post something to Instagram, it also goes to Twitter. But I don't know. Partially, I hate the Twitter app now, and so I usually use an app called Twitterific, I think is what it's called. Yeah, Twitterific. And then recently, the Twitter organization, the company, did something to their APIs. So now, if someone like sends me a direct message or links me or whatever all that Twitter speak is, then I used to get a notification from Twitterific saying, hey, so-and-so mentioned you in a tweet, or so-and-so sent you a message, and now Twitter has blocked that, so you can't do that anymore. So now I have to go manually check Twitterific to be able to see if someone's saying something to me, which I think is kind of a pain in the ass. No, the reason they did it is because Twitterific it basically strips out all the ads, I guess. So I get that, but I still don't find the value in it enough yet at this point. So I don't know. I generally stick more with Instagram because a lot of the stuff that I'm doing is generally more visual anyway. So yeah, that's why I haven't really done a ton with Twitter. I have a Twitter account. You can tweet at me. I will eventually get back to you, hopefully. But we'll see, yeah. What else here? Painting some figures for friends. What would be a decent payment? Depends on how long you've been doing it. Depends on how much they're prepared to pay. There's a lot of different options there. You know, I mean, if you're doing it to just get them kind of painted, then I would not charge them very much at all, especially if you've not been doing it for a while. But if you're spending a ton of time on them and painting them to super high quality, then that's a different story altogether. So I can't say, well, $12, because that's, everybody's different, and heck, I don't even know where you live. You might not even use dollars. It might be pounds, or I don't even know the other stuff. So yeah, that's kind of where that's at. Joe Orthorber says samsonminis.blogspot.com. That's where the Samson Minis is. That's his blog. Let's see here. The other things I'm looking at, I'll probably just stick with the 2019 theme and try to get that done so we can get back to talking about other stuff. So you've seen it. Well, maybe you've seen. I posted a video this past Monday. That was my hobby progress vlog, and it was me talking about the Iron Skulls boys that I'm working on, which are the 4 orcs for Shadespire. And I'm making those hobby progress vlogs not like, oh, here, watch me paint, but more me talking about, this is my plan, this is why I'm going to do it this way, and then the next episode you might see would be, okay, so I did this, I found this was a problem. It's going to be more explanatory as opposed to just like, well, watch me paint for 2 hours. And I'm hoping that allows people to understand that they need to think more a little bit about what they're painting, rather than just like, well, I'm going to paint this model now, and you go, okay, cool, what kind of scheme are you going to use? And I'm like, oh, because what color you prime it is important. So kind of sharpening that axe and thinking ahead and going, I'm going to do it like this, so therefore I should, because like I said, I end up priming these guys black instead of green, even though they're orcs, and I would normally prime orcs green, but they had so little skin on them in comparison to armor, I decided to go with the color that I was going to go more for armor, so it worked out. But if I would have just primed them green and then tried to go through and paint all the armor and then dry brush the silver on there like I want to, then it wouldn't have worked great, because I would have gotten silver on the green. So thinking ahead, that's kind of what this whole hobby progress vlog is going to be about. And like I said, they'll show up on every other Monday. But it won't just be hobby progress vlogs. I'll do 2 or 3 or however long it takes to get the project done. And then my hope is to have like another type of video like 2 weeks later on that Friday. And maybe it'll be a one-shot. Maybe it'll be, again, a small series. And then maybe go back to a hobby progress vlog. The shows that'll be on those every other Mondays will be more of a named kind of themed thing. Whereas the Friday videos that I do every week are always just tabletop minions. There's not a title, there's a title to the video, but it's a subject, it's a theme, and I talk about a thing, and there's all kinds of different things that are all miniature related that I talk about. But for the most part, it's not like a series too much. I've done the Airbrush series, and I want to add to that as well this year a little bit. But that's kind of my thoughts for the Monday thing. And again, like I said, the Monday videos will only happen when there's not a every other Sunday weekend. You know what I mean? So hopefully you still got something to watch, even though there's like not a Sunday video going on in those situations. So that's kind of the things that I'm looking at. One of the things that's going to go in that every other Monday slot will also be a show called Uncle Adam's Miniature Hot Mess, where I take a model that I buy used somewhere, probably eBay, that looks terrible or whatever, and I strip it down and I repaint it and go through all of that. Those will generally, I believe, probably just be a single episode thing, which means they'll take longer to film, because I will have to talk a little bit about, here's the plan, then I'll bring it out and show it to you a little bit later, like, okay, now here's, after I've got the paint stripped off and I'm going to do this and this and this, and then, okay, now I've primed it and done this and base coated, then so I have to film all that stuff and edit it all together. The Hobby Progress vlog is way easier to make in that I set the camera down, I talk at it for 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes. I maybe slide in some images of the thing I'm talking about, or some quick film of me airbrushing or whatever, and then it's done. Whereas the Miniature Hot Mess will be a bit more of a process. So yeah, that's kind of where that's at. Those are my Monday plans, and I'm going to see if I can keep it up. Hopefully, I have a day job, so there's that. If this was my only day job, I would probably be making 3 videos a week, easy. But this is not. So basically, one of the reasons I'm also looking at doing the hobby progress vlog is because it then still forces me to actually get stuff done to talk about in that. Whereas every minute that I am spending filming and editing and doing all that kind of stuff, and I'm not hobbying. So I'm trying to figure it out. I'm getting it dialed in, but we'll see how it works out. And then I've got some other ideas as well for those Monday slots. But to start right now, the main ones are going to be the hobby progress vlog and the miniature hot mess. And then we'll see what other ones are going to go in there as well. Another thing that I want to do this year as well, and I talked a little bit about it last year, but it's coming more to fruition this year, is I want to do a few more little short stories, kind of like, if you go way back, I did 2 in the past, and they were called Tales of the Tabletop Minions, and they're like short little skits almost. And I want to do some more of those. Not a ton, because they take up a ton of time. Depending on how I do them, they can take up a ton of time, because there's a lot of editing. And all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we'll see. But I do want to definitely, I've got 3 good ideas right now. One of them is not fully formed. It's like 3/4 written, and that's the thing too. When I do these kind of more narrative, kind of story-driven things, I have to actually write a script, which I don't normally do. I never write a script for any of the Friday videos. Obviously, this is not scripted. It would be weird if it was. But yeah, so it's stuff that I'm looking at going forward, and I'm looking forward to doing. I might even try to shoot like a short, like some bits for a short film at one of the upcoming, really the only upcoming convention I would be able to do that at would be Adepticon, because I drive to Adepticon. It's only about 3 hours for me. And then I can bring tons of camera equipment. When I fly places, it's much harder and more expensive to bring a whole bunch of camera equipment. So I don't. Speaking of conventions, like I mentioned earlier, going to a bunch of conventions this year. I'm going to LVO coming up in early February. I think it's the 7th, the 10th, or something like that. So I'll be there. I will be on the media panel thing on Friday night. I'll be doing my seminars and stuff, be checking things out, hanging out, talking to people, whatever, that kind of stuff. Looking forward to that. It's a great convention. It's a lot of fun. Last year was my first year, but I had a good time. And it wasn't just because it was Vegas, because really I'm not a Vegas guy. I don't really gamble or any kind of stuff like that. I don't go to shows. So, but yeah, so that's the next one. And then I'm planning, I think I'm going to the Fire and Ice convention in Manitowoc, Wisconsin, which is a small local convention. It's a 2-day convention. On the second day, there's a big 40K tournament, which I don't play in, but I like to kind of see what's going on there and stuff. And so it's like an hour drive, so it's not that far. In March, I'm going to be in Reno in the early part of the month, like the 12th to the 18th, or no, that may not be right. I don't know. Early-ish part of March, I'll be in Reno at the GAMA trade shows, the Game Manufacturers Association. The reason I'm going to that is because Game 4, my day job, or part of my day job, we are going to have a booth, because the GAMA trade show, the booths are all manufacturers and people who work and do stuff and service into game stores, and then the people walking up and down the aisles are all game store owners and employees. It's not a convention for gamers to go to. It's a convention for game store owners to go to. So us being there, basically explaining our story directly to game store owners, is very useful. We went to it last year, and it was it's a really great convention for that specific kind of thing. So yeah, looking forward to that. Then I'm back for a week, and then I'm at Adepticon in late March. So I hope, if you get a chance to go to Adepticon, I hope we bump into each other. I will probably try to have some sort of meetup and see how that works. Although this year, the 2 seminars I'm teaching are both in the evening, so we'll see how that goes. One of the things I'm going to be doing at Adepticon this year is I'm going to be... 2 years ago, I made a video where I talked to a bunch of pro painters, including Sam, and I ask them all the same questions, like all the same 6 questions. I'm going to do something like that again this year, but the questions are going to be different, themed differently as well. I'm going to talk to several other painters and make a video like that. I'm also going to be working directly with Adepticon, with the hobby seminar folks, and I'm going to be making some short, I'm not exactly sure how it's going to work out, like whether it's going to be multiple short films or like one slightly longer video, where I'm going to talk to a bunch of the people running the seminars and ask them some questions about kind of the things that they're doing. And I want to basically, me and Adepticon together want to be able to teach people about the hobby seminars and how it's a great reason to go to these conventions. Like, there's a lot of people I know that are like, I don't go to Adepticon because I don't play in any of the tournaments. Well, I don't play the tournaments either, but it is one of the best places in the country to go to be trained by people from all, like the top painters from all over the world are there teaching classes. So you can really learn some amazing stuff from some amazing teachers at Adepticon. And so we're going to make a video about that, and it'll be on my channel, from what I understand, which is fine. That's good. But yeah, I still got to kind of get that stuff nailed down before Adepticon. So that's the end of March. I don't know if there's anything going on in April currently. In May, I'm definitely going to, there's a distributor conference in Madison, Wisconsin. This is a game distributor called ACD, and they work with game stores. They're the ones that generally like work between the manufacturers and the game stores. And then they have this thing. And so again, that's one of those little conventions where it's all game store owners walking around in the aisles. And we had a booth there last year for Game Force, so I'll be at that one as well. That's, unless you're a game store owner or employee, I probably won't see you there, because again, it's pretty much kind of just aimed towards that. In June, I'm going to Origins. I just bought the tickets and all that stuff. So I've got a bunch of different things I'm going to be trying to figure out, but I'll be at Origins. I'm hoping to do some work with Vallejo there, actually, because they had a booth last year, and they had people, it was a guy named Jason, and then he and then other guests would come in and paint, and then people could pay to come in and learn to kind of paint with them and do these 2-hour sessions and paint. Like last year it was a beholder, one of these the WizKids beholders. So you'd pay to get a beholder, and then you'd have all these paints available to you at the table, and you'd paint along with the two of us up there talking. And I got to be a guest on one of those, and that was a lot of fun. So I'm hoping to be able to do that again this year. We're in the conversation about that, Jason and I, through Vallejo. So yeah, that's going to be interesting as well. But I'll be there for the whole shindig. I might try to do some seminars there. I need to talk to them. I don't know if it's too late, but I want to do that. Let me see. That is June. I don't know if there's anything currently in July for me, which would be nice to take a month off. But then August is Gen Con. So again, I'll be at Gen Con this year. If you're going to be at Gen Con, again, hopefully we can figure something out, maybe a meetup or whatever. Hang out at Potbelly again like we did the last 2 years. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to Gen Con as well. Talking to probably a lot of different manufacturers and just different industry stuff and things like that. So that'll be a lot of fun. And it's a great convention. It's not, I used to be less of a fan of it, and I don't know that it's for everyone, especially when I say everyone, I mean wargamers. If you're a wargamer, but you also like Magic, or you also like board games, or you also like RPGs, then it's way more useful. But if you just like wargames, like generally I kind of do, it's a little bit less useful, but I'm going because it's a thing where I end up talking to a lot of different companies and all kinds of stuff like that and all that jazz. So what else? What else do I have planned after that? Then the thing after that is I'm planning on going to Nova Open, which is in September, early September, late August. So that'll be a busy month again, somewhere around there. But that's in Washington, D.C. I went last year, had a great time. It's a great convention, planning on going again. Yeah, it's just, it's going to be a busy 2019 as far as convention season. There might be some other stuff in there that I'm going to show up at. I don't know. That's kind of still up in the air. In June, I totally forgot about Tabletop Minions Expo. That's also going to be 8th and 9th, I believe. Yes, 8th and 9th of June here in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. So if you live anywhere around, or let's say Australia, it looks like VJ Morph is planning on coming, so that's going to be a long trek. But yeah, it's a small. I mean, last year it was like, seriously, it was like 65 people. It's a tiny little convention, and it's not a tournament. There's no. It's all just like learning demos and trying out new games and stuff like that. Had a couple of seminars last year. Hopefully, get a couple of those going again. Maybe some Sam, maybe some Mac the Maker teaching us about 3D printing and stuff like that. So yeah, that kind of stuff. We'll see how that goes. But that one's coming up. Like I said, 7th and 8th. I need to update the website so that you can see the stuff. But it's yeah. If you go to the website link that moderator Matt just posted, that will show you last year's dates. That's my own fault. I just need to fix that stuff. So, all right. I think I'm done talking about 2019, at least for now. I hope that you guys know that I'm definitely, this is a lifestyle, this channel for me, and I really appreciate the support, and I appreciate people watching and all that kind of stuff, and so it's been really great, and that's one of the reasons why I want to keep going to conventions too, is because then I get to meet people, and talk to folks, which is always a lot of fun. So absolutely. Mike asks, do you have an Instagram? I do. It's just instagram.com/tabletopminions. So I haven't, yeah, I don't think there's a dot in there. I'm pretty sure it's instagram.com/tabletopminions, all one word. Pretty sure of it. Thanos says, remember, if you go to a convention, follow the 6-2-1 rule. 6 hours of sleep, 2 hot meals a day, and 1 shower. Generally 6 hours of sleep, yes. I generally do that. 2 hot meals a day, they may not be hot. I generally try to have at least 1, but I do make sure to eat. Like, it maybe breakfast may just be like, like granola bars and junk like that, or whatever. And again, coffee. Coffee's hot. Does that count as a hot meal? Probably not. But I do that, and that works out well. And then a shower thing, yeah, definitely. I am greasy, so I need to shower. So absolutely, that makes sense. I have come across plenty of people at conventions over my years, especially Gen Con, who, like, I've come across people at Gen Con back even in the day when it was still in Milwaukee, that I don't think they had a hotel room, because, like, most of the hotels that were right across the street from the main convention center, which was originally the Mecca and then later on was the Midwest Express Center, a lot of the hotels would have their ballrooms just opened up for all-night gaming, and they would just set up tables and chairs, and people would be playing games all night. And around the edges of those rooms, you would just see people who were completely asleep, and they like, you knew they weren't homeless folks, but oh geez, what, the camera just stopped. Man, I don't know how to fix that problem. Why does that happen, I wonder? Is it my software? Well, heck. I don't think another... No, that's not going to help. No. I don't know if it's the camera or what it is. This happened a couple times before. Well, this has happened once before, a couple episodes ago. And the picture's frozen, and I didn't notice it. Well, that's fun. Let me see here. Yeah, well, shoot. I don't know how to... That is problematic. This, like I said, this happened once before, but last time it happened, it was maybe 20 minutes left in the show. So that wasn't the worst thing in the world. And then I just kind of... yeah. Well, shoot. I don't think... No, see, because the camera is fine. Someone says maybe the camera is overheating. The little articulating screen that pops off the camera, everything is still moving and working perfectly over there. It's something over here. If I had to guess, I would say it was the interface, the CamLink interface is slightly unhappy maybe, or something. And that's what's causing this trouble. Moderator Matt suggests that I blow into the cartridge. I don't know that that'll work, but I appreciate that. Shoot, I don't know how to... Yeah, because I could probably fix it by shutting down the stream and starting over, which doesn't work super hot. Let me look and see. Well, you know what I could try? Let's try this. What if I go to... All right, you know what I need to do is I need to make the technical difficulties screen so that I can click to that. For now, I'm going to click to this. No, that's not going to work, so I'm not going to be able to see. All right, we're going to do this live. There we go. So first thing we're going to do is remove the camera interface from XSplit so you don't see it. And then we will add it back and see if it is still screwy. Devices, video, cam link. Nope, still screwy. And then we put this down. All right, so step 2, we get rid of you, cam link, remove, and then we start unplugging stuff and plugging stuff back in on the fly like some sort of crazy person. All right, here we go. I unplug the camera, not the electrical part, but the video part. Now I'm going to plug the HDMI back in. Okay. And now I'm going to add source. This is super exciting. I apologize. Screen capture, devices, video, cam link. Nope, that's weird because I unplugged it and then plugged it back in again. That fixes everything on the internet. Huh. Well, what the heck is going on? All right, well, let's try this. Let's turn off the camera and turn it back on again. That will mess with the focus, but we'll live. All right, so we've turned off the camera. And we're going to delete the cam link again. Remove. Okay, we got a black screen. We're going to turn on the camera. Okay. And we're going to not rename. We're going to, no, we're not going to remove either. We're going to add source, devices, video, cam link. Come on. Okay, then that's probably the software. That's being XSplit, being a jerk for some reason, because I have turned off the computer, I've unplugged the cam link. Well, but I didn't unplug the cam link from the computer. Let's try that. That'll, okay, that's, so it's the cam link that is holding on to the data. That's interesting. Okay. Plug this back in. Hey, there we are. All right, there we go. Now I'm all out of focus, but we've got it sort of fixed. So I'll just do this. All right, so this is not the camera's fault, it's the cam link's fault. So I'll have to look into some, what do you call that? Firmware. All right, now to try to figure out how to focus this manually. Is that focused? Going the wrong way, I think. Well, that's much better. No. It's like... All right, hang on. My face is about right here. Okay, that's close. That's worse. You know, like on Star Trek when, like, what's his name there? Like, Geordi LaForge. Well, not for Christ's sakes. When Geordi LaForge has to, like, rejigger the tachyon emitters or whatever so that they can fix whatever problem they're having. It's like that when you do this on the fly. See, if my wife was here, I would just try to have her help me with the focus. Because the autofocus is not great. That's why I don't use it. What is going on here? Again, I apologize for this. What is... I don't understand why I can't get this to be in focus. That is not it. That's not it. And that's too far. This is pretty close. We're just going to say, yeah, pretty close for now. All right. Yeah, the hand trick is what I generally use for my normal Friday videos. I set the autofocus. Actually, let me do that. Is this, yeah, this camera has that. So if I go to the back of the camera and I do this, and then I set my hand about here, and I tell it to try that, and I turn the autofocus off because otherwise it'll keep freaking out. It's a little soft, but we're gonna run with it. There we go. Yeah, better one or better two? Better one, better two. All right, so now we know that the cam link is the culprit in this situation. In the future, see, when I turn off the camera and turn it back on again, this particular type of camera, like a normal lens, would not have this trouble because most lenses, this is what's called a fly-by-wire lens. You could just keep spinning the focus ring forever. It is not directly linked to the movement of the elements on the inside. It's a bunch of nerd talk that you don't need to hear necessarily, but that's what's going on with this. So, and you'll also notice that now everything, the color changed a bit, like everything, yeah. So I'll get that figured out. We'll figure it all out eventually. Everything just died.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's fine now. All right, so now I've got the nice, lovely soft focus. Okay, where were we at? I don't even remember anymore. The camera's trying to focus on two things at the same time when you're adjusting. Yeah, it depends. Like it's different. Yeah, it's definitely soft, flattering light. Hey, hun. Oh, she left. All right, because I was going to say she could. It's easier. Like I can't from here. What if I just a little bit? See, I'm just going to keep messing with it. That's pretty close. It'll be okay for now. All right. Our coffee maker is making a strange clicking noise, too. It's one of those days when, like, did you ever see the movie Maximum Overdrive? When the machines decided to attack? I think maybe that's what's going on. Mike says 720p, just like the 2000s. To be fair, I do output this stream in 720p anyway. It's just it's fuzzier now because of the focus being screwy. But yeah, I do actually do that because it's just generally because people are having to download it and the stream is happening live and all that kind of stuff. I do usually do these streams, I think, at 720. At least I think I do. I have to double check, but I'm pretty sure. Kelly says, perfect. You look like a younger Barbara Walters. That is a bummer for Barbara. I got to say that. That's not cool. With this focus, we should do some ASMR. Yeah, I don't have one of those weird microphones that have ears on it. You ever seen those? Those are weird. All right. We were talking about your evil plan. I don't even remember having an evil plan. I remember talking about getting through 2019, going to conventions and all that kind of stuff, and how I like to meet folks and all that jazz. The new painter says maximum passive aggressive. That's a that's a way better title. I like that. There you go. Yeah. Tabletop means if the camera is fly-by-wire, then you can get software to adjust it using the computer. I don't know if Panasonic does that, but now that you mention it, I think that there's an app. So I could technically use the app to maybe focus, but I don't have it downloaded. I'll have to look into that. Although I have it on manual focus, so that I don't think that would work. I don't know. I'll look into it later. what I really just need to do is to get a lens, maybe like this is a new lens. Well, what I need to do is in the future unplug the cam link and not turn off the camera and turn it back on again. That will also fix the problem. So there we go. Jeremiah D says loved Maximum Overdrive Gaslands mods ? That's a pretty good idea. I could definitely see like, yeah, just like a whole bunch of big trucks fighting against like if you had like a GM, like a game master who got to drive all the big trucks that were all controlled by the, I don't know, whatever, machines going crazy, and then everybody else got to play a couple of cars that were trying to fight against them. That'd be a lot of fun. That'd be a good scenario. Noob Painter, if you're coming to TMX again this year, that might be something to think about. I don't know. Thanos asks, are you going to Nova Open? Yes. I think that was one of the last conventions that I mentioned that I knew about. Yeah, I'll be at Nova Open in late August, early September, whenever the heck it is. I've already got those tickets bought too for the plane and all that jazz. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I enjoy. That was a good convention. I really enjoyed it. Say, Adam, you are all about that base. Do you use that loose flock, flowers, tufts, brushes? Oh, base. Yeah, I was thinking base. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. And I'm a big fan of basing my miniatures. Yes. Do you use loose flock, flowers, tufts, brushes? Do you need to use Purity Seal to make that stick in the long run? So, generally for my basing, I like to, like I did the video quite a while ago about the baking soda bases, which I'm a big fan of because I like the texture. But you can use whatever you want to use. I do generally like to do the texture before I even prime. So I glue that stuff down. I see a lot of people who paint their entire model and then do the basing, and I've never liked doing it that way. So the very first thing is that when you've got it all stuck down and then you prime the model, you're priming over the top of the base, which helps to stick it onto the model, or to keep it on the base as well. So that helps. Once you're all done and everything's all painted and ready to go, then I like to do some sort of varnish, whatever you use, dull coat, Purity Seal, whatever. And I do that on the base as well to help kind of, to flatten it, because I like to use the matte varnish. But then you also get to, just puts another layer of sealant over the top of that base. When I then decide to do, let's say, tufts, those little kind of weird tufts of whatever they're supposed to be, kind of weeds, I guess, I do those after the Purity Seal or the varnish or whatever you want to call it. That's always the way it works, because it's, if you decide you want to use flock, like I'm not a big fan of flock, but sometimes you use it. Like for my Blood Bowl guys, it makes sense that they would be on a pitch or on a field, and so that they would make sense that they would be on flock. But a lot of my other stuff I do is usually like some sort of urban combat, so I don't use grass or fluff, or not fluff. I use tufts sometimes to look like weeds growing out between cracks in the road, but I don't use flock, is the word I'm looking for, generally. That being said, you don't want to Purity Seal or varnish or dull coat or whatever over the top of your flock, because it will make the flock get real weird looking. It's a bummer because it would help to stick the flock down better. It's one of the issues I have with flock, is that I don't like it that it gets everywhere. But yeah, it's not a good idea to do that. So that's where that's at. Yeah, so that's kind of the process as far as that kind of stuff is concerned. Other types of things, like I've seen people use little fake leaves. If you go back to Sam's, I think one of his first videos here on the channel is he was showing you how to quick paint Zombicide guys. He was even using little tiny pieces of paper he cut out to make it look like kind of like newspapers, like blowing along the kind of post-zombie apocalypse, like, concrete or whatever, and they looked really cool. But yeah, it's I don't generally do a lot of extra pieces like that. I like the texture, I like the paint, sometimes a little bit of those tufts to make some, like, weeds and stuff like that, but that's about as far as that goes. Sam Hinchy says, is there a miniature game about Dune? Not that I know of. I mean, there were some video games, and I think that there was easily a tabletop game that I can remember, at least a board game. Yeah, I don't think there's a miniature game. That's interesting. What else have we got? Andrew Johnson says, are you going to do Flames of War again with the new version 4 late war releases, or any Team Yankee? I don't know. I think for my more historical itch, I think I'm going to probably go with Conflict 47, which is not particularly historical, as there are mechs and werewolves and zombies in it. But yeah, I don't know that I'm personally myself. I'm not a super huge fan of the scale. I mean, I might go back and play eventually because I've got stuff. My choices are either to sell stuff or to not, I guess. But yeah, like if I was going to sell anything, I wouldn't sell my models, because none of my painted ones, because I generally just don't sell painted models. But I could see myself selling the terrain and things like that, because it doesn't particularly work well with anything else. If I wanted to play Team Yankee, which I'm slightly interested in to some degree, some of those buildings could work, because the stuff like the terrain that I have for Flames of War is, it's a lot of, what do you call it, like very European theater, World War II kind of, a little bit more rustic, country stuff. Whereas Team Yankee is not really taking it. Well, first of all, the time period is not the same, and yeah, so I don't know. The scale is the same. That's really the only thing that keeps those two games together in that situation, as far as I can tell. So yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I haven't, like, the people around here just that I used to play with aren't really playing Flames anymore. So that's partially, that's one of the difficult things frequently about miniatures games, is that you generally need someone else to play with. I mean, I did a video recently about single player war games, and that's cool, but you kind of need other people to play with to some degree, and so you have to. It's difficult. So when your friends or people that you've been playing with, if they stop playing that game, it's hard to. You have to work super hard to get other people invested in into it, and then go from there. So yeah. George says everything is better with mechs, werewolves, and zombies. Well, yeah. First of all, that's true. There's a part of me that for a while that was interested in historical miniatures. Like I hit a certain age, like I hit the age of 42, and all of a sudden the light went on, and I was like, oh, I think World War II is interesting, and I still kind of do, but I kind of still need some lasers involved. You know what I mean? I still need some, I don't know, mechs and stuff like that. That's kind of where I'm at. Jim says trying the PVA solution right now seems to work, getting a slight indication it might be a little shiny if you mixed too little water. I don't generally use PVA with my on my basing at all. I think I have some PVA somewhere in the basement, but I don't use it on much of anything. I know that for years they've always been like, oh yeah, just put a bunch of PVA glue on your base and then sprinkle some sand on it and you're done. And I've always used regular super glue, and I understand it's more expensive, but I also understand that it sticks. Like, I have been sent, after I did that video, plenty of pictures of people who are like, the entire thing, like the model busts off and it takes the entire base with it. You know how, like, when you get like PVA style glue, like school glue when you're a kid, Elmer's glue, whatever, and you get it on your thumb or something like that, and you get to peel it all off, and it's a lot of fun. Yeah, it doesn't actually stick to certain things that well. PVA glue is actually barely glue, in my opinion, because it's really, like, it'll glue paper together pretty well as long as it's like porous. But man, trying to glue sand to plastic with PVA glue, I just don't think it's a long-term option. So that's why I generally use the super glue stuff, cyanoacrylate, CA glue. That's what I use, and it works out pretty well. Admittedly, like I said, it's a touch more expensive, but again, lately I've been mostly doing skirmish, so I'm not painting. I mean, I'm painting roughly the same amount of models. It's bad math in my head, but I'm just going to say that's how it works out. Celtic Hobo says, I guess varnish prevents baking soda turning yellow. That was the problem I had in my test bases. See, there's a lot of people that like to use baking soda as snow. So they sprinkle some, or they put some glue down, and then they sprinkle a bunch of baking soda on top of it, and then that's the final step. Like they do it at the end after they've got everything else painted. They almost use it like flock. I've never used it like that. I use the baking soda and I sprinkle it into CA glue that's already on the base, and then I prime and paint over the top of it. So maybe it might yellow it. I don't know because I've primed and painted over it. What I'm using the baking soda for is the texture. Baking soda is so much finer of a texture than, say, sand or salt or sugar or anything like that, that when models are standing on that type of stuff, it looks more like sand or ash, whereas if you put a model who's only yay tall and you have that person stand on sand, it looks like they're standing on a field of gravel. You know what I mean? Because the scale's not right. So that's why I use it, but I always paint over the top of it. So I've had people in the past being like, oh yeah, well, it'll turn yellow, you shouldn't use it. I'm like, well, I don't care if it turns yellow because I'm covering it in paint, so I don't even know if it turns yellow. So that's kind of where that's at. Let me see here. PVA needs to be done after priming, would certainly peel off of easy peasy from bare plastic. And that's what I've seen as well. But like I said, I just generally don't use PVA. I always just use the CA glue. This could be a shirt. World War II is interesting, but I need more lasers involved. It's technically, in my opinion, true, but it's not everybody's opinion. If anyone should do it, Warlord should do it, and then have the Conflict 47 logo underneath it, and that would make sense. Don asks, Adam, what do you do with all your minis? Do you display them or just store them? Currently, I store them. I have one of those IKEA cabinets that everybody else has, but it's currently unbuilt because I'm trying to figure out exactly where I'm going to put it in my basement, so it's unbuilt. And when I do get it in there, when I get it all built and set up, I'm not sure exactly. I think what I'm going to end up doing is putting models in there that I don't play with anymore. The models that I play with, generally I want to keep them in a case so they're ready to go, so I can go play them. If I have to open up, if I have to open up the glass thing and dig out, my models and then put them into a case so that I can go and play, that's not as useful to me. But I've got plenty of models for games that I painted that I enjoyed, and now I don't play them anymore, either for reasons like they changed the edition or people I used to play with don't play it anymore and they've switched to something else or whatever. And there's plenty of models I painted just because I wanted to paint the models, even though it wasn't for a game I even played. So yeah, there's that too. Thanos says, I'm 48 and can testify that the historical gene turned on when I hit my 40s. The Wargame Strategy and Wargame Soldiers and Strategy magazine, WSS. I can't remember if it's Wargame Strategy and Soldiers or Wargame Soldiers and Strategy. Anyway, they do a big wargaming. They call it the Great Wargaming Survey, and they do it every year. And over the last, 5-6 years, they basically have tracked like when people say they started being interested in historicals, and the date, like the average date last time that I looked was 42, which was the exact date when all of a sudden I was like, you know what, I'm going to buy some Flames of War. And so I don't know what that is, and Lord knows, because I did a video about are you old enough for historicals where I mentioned that. And there were plenty of people, of course, in there that are like, well, I'm 13 years old and I've been playing historicals since I was a fetus, or whatever, and that's fine. I'm not saying you didn't. I'm saying that that's a bit of an outlier. The majority of people are playing a lot of, your Age of Sigmar and all that kind of stuff, and 40K and all kinds of other games like that. And then they get to a point all of a sudden where all of a sudden people are like, historicals. And it doesn't stick with everybody, as you can kind of tell. But it does become something you consider a little bit better. Let's just say that. So, yeah. Jesse says, I'd set up the display case with the models you don't play as background stuff in the studio. I don't know if I want to take it to the studio. It's really heavy. It's like, because those glass panels and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. Actually, I did get something just recently to add to more kind of background in the studio, but I'm not sure if I'm going to deploy it in the background where you see my normal Friday videos, or if I'm going to deploy it now potentially in the battle report room, which is a relatively new annex that I have taken over. I went on to this company called Sticker Mule online, and they make stickers and stuff. And I didn't get any stickers made. Well, I got one giant sticker made. It is it's the Tabletop Minions logo over here. And but instead of being just this big here, maybe you've got a really big TV. Now take this logo, if you've got a really big TV, and blow it up until it is I think it's 4'7" across by like 5'4" high. So it came in this giant tube, and I was like, oh, I'll be able to stick this on the wall. And then I started looking at it. I think it was on Thursday when I was filming last. I was looking at it. I'm just like measuring, and I'm like, I don't think I'm going to be able to stick this in the background. It's not going to take up. You're only going to see like a third of it. So yeah. So like I said, it may end up in the background. Behind the person that I'm playing bat reps against on that wall. I'm not 100% sure yet. I might get a slightly smaller version of it and then put that in the background of the Friday videos. We'll see. But it is surprisingly huge. And it's got a sticky material in the back, kind of almost like Post-it notes, a little bit stronger than that. So it's repositionable. It's not like you're going to stick it on the wall and then peel it off and all the paint comes off or whatever. You can kind of wiggle it, move it around. It's almost like those, what are those sports things? Fatheads or something? That's a terrible name. But that's, I think, the name of the company. And it's like you have some sports star and it's like a cutout and you can stick it on the wall in your kid's room and then they can see football person or whatever, or basketball person. I don't know. And so it's like that same type of material, I believe. But I got it from a company called Sticker Mule. And it is, I was just like, well, what's the biggest I can do? So I made a huge one and then I got it and I'm like, oh, that's way bigger than I thought. So yeah, and it's taller than my wife. It's big. So yeah. Let me see here. Eric says, I cut my teeth on the old Avalon Hill war games back in the day. Yeah. I've played a couple of those. My good friend Peter has a bunch of that stuff, and so we played some of those. But we played some of their other kind of more board gamey things. Like there was this game called Acquire that we used to play quite a bit, which was kind of like a stock market sort of game or whatever, and it was cool. It had like this relatively not very large plastic board, and then you would get these tiles, and then it was anyway. You were trying to buy stocks and build companies, and it was cool. What else? Dylan says, "Do you have a week schedule for when you are going to paint, or do you just paint when you have the time?" I kind of have a mental, scheduling. Like, no, I paint when I have the time, and I try to make as much time as I can. I do have a tendency to paint on weekends a bit more, just because I'm not at work and that kind of stuff. I can spend more time doing that. But I do try to frequently paint in the evenings if I'm not either filming and editing or not, doing other stuff. Like on Monday, every other Monday we generally go to dinner with my mom. And then hang out with her for quite a while. So obviously I'm not painting during that, and there's just different little things here and there. I try to keep my evenings relatively open because I know that there's times when I need to film. Sometimes I'll need to film on a Tuesday because Thursday's not going to work or whatever. There's just different things. In a perfect world, I would start actually filming, honestly. I would start filming the Friday videos the Sunday before so that I've got a little bit more time. And it also works a little better with the studio. I like the new studio. It's great. The problem is that there are also some other bands that are up, there. And so they're practicing, and then I can't record because my microphone will hear them. Also, on Wednesday nights in the summer, there's a drum circle across the street in the little park. And so I can't record during that either. And so, it seems like Saturday and Sunday earlier, like early afternoon and even evening, there's not as many people up there, so that's maybe a better time to shoot. So I'm trying to kind of change that around in my schedule too. So we'll see how it goes. Christopher says, my fully built IKEA Detolf, which is the case we were talking about, survives 2 overseas moves. I was shocked. That is shocking. That's crazy. I had no idea. Because it's just basically like big heavy glass panels, and then like some what do you call that stuff? Like particle board top and a particle board bottom, and then like some metal kind of real thin supports and stuff. That's amazing. Like overseas, that's yeah. Let's see. Talking about some historical games. People talking about calculating air viscosity and range in crosswinds to shoot your tank. Evidently, this makes a horrible game. You know what to say. Like, when a game gets that detailed, when, you want to make a shot from your tank, and air viscosity, range, crosswind, angle of shot, angle of armor, and angle of incidence all have to be taken into consideration, that should be a video game. Honestly, at that point, if you had a video game that was that detailed and made all of those kind of real world physics calculations when you shot, people, I think, not everybody, because some people like real arcadey, simpler games, like Pirates, the pirate game, Sea of Thieves is not. They're not taking a lot of windage into consideration when you're firing your cannonballs at ghost ships. But if that's the type of thing that rather than doing all the math and trying to figure that out on paper, that should probably be taken care of by the computer, at least in my opinion. But I'm always impressed when I'm like playing a game or something like that, and there is definite like bullet drop. I almost never see the wind affecting shots in any kinds of games. Although maybe there's a game that's just about sniping. Sniper Elite, maybe? There's like several versions of it. I want to say that's up to version 4, maybe. I saw a video about it once, and I think they take wind and stuff like that into consideration. But when you're making a game just about using a sniper rifle, then you need to add in all that extra stuff, I would think. So, yeah. Pavo says, welcome from snowy Finland. First time catching the show live. Watched the others afterwards. Glad to have you. You missed all of the technical difficulties earlier when the capture thingy locked up, and then I finally figured out what the problem was and fixed it, and now everything's out of focus a little bit. So normally not quite this soft, but it's a long story. If you watch the earlier part of the video, you'll catch it, and and you'll probably laugh. So that'll be fun. Six Gunner says, Adam, what do you think about the new Age of Sigmar Gloomspite Gits? I was talking about those earlier in the show a little bit. My wife thinks that they're cool. She actually mentioned them to me because she had seen them on some other website. I have whatever the little box set is for Night Vault, for the Warhammer Underworlds, Shadespire, whatever. I bought the box of those guys, and so I'm going to paint them up eventually. They're sadly not super high on my list right now because I've got a bunch of other stuff I'm trying to get done, specifically the orcs for Shadespire, and then stuff from Blackstone Fortress that's going to go into my Imperial Guard kill teams. And then after that, I've got a bunch of Space Marines to paint I'm in part of an escalation league, and I need to get 500 points painted up by the end of the month, so we'll see if that happens. But yeah, that's they're in the queue, and so then I think maybe she and I will start trying to play a little bit of. I keep wanting to say Ultima Underworld because that was an old game that I used to play a long, long time ago on the PC. But it's Warhammer Underworlds. That's what it is. Family Gamers 777 says, "Sup, Adam? Happy New Year. Hope all is well. Things are doing well, Andrew. Yep, absolutely. Glad to see you. Probably bump into you at the very least, probably Adepticon, probably. Yeah, things are going well. What else have we got? Sniper Elite is the name of that game I was talking about. I've been told by Matthew that is correct. Corvus Games Train says, what is the name of the sticker company Adam mentioned? It was called Sticker Mule, like mule, like a mule. I don't know, like a pack animal. You know what I mean? Sticker Mule. They make all kinds of stuff. They make stickers, which makes sense. A lot of many different styles, die cut, this, that, the other thing, different shapes, and they do a bunch of other junk. But then they also have called wall art or wall clings or wall something, and that's what you can get like a logo or whatever you want printed like super huge. Like I think the max width is 56 inches and the max length is like 96 inches. So yeah, super huge. Let's see. If you looked into Oak and Iron as an Age of Sail war game, might also go hand in hand with Sea of Thieves in a way. I haven't, actually. I think I've heard of it. I'm not 100% sure on that, though. I think I've heard of it. I'll have to look into it. Yeah, I don't think I've seen it. Let me see here. Emily says her sister is going to buy the Gits. I'm so excited about how excited she is. That she's a Halloween nut, so perfect flavor for her. Yeah, I could see that, definitely. My wife likes Halloween as well. Yeah, I could... I mean, they are kind of the comic relief of Age of Sigmar. Orcs are a little bit like that way. Although Age of Sigmar orcs are not nearly as comic relief as, in my opinion, as 40k orcs are. You know what I mean? Age of Sigmar orcs are a little bit more brutish and whatnot, and so I think that these gits are going to work better as your more kind of silly sort of, comic relief. Whereas, like I said, it's predominantly orcs in 40k that are the comic relief. I'm trying to think if there's any other kind of comic relief, like Tau, no, Eldar, Lord, no. Yeah, it's pretty much orcs that are the silly ones in 40k, but you have Gretchens, but they're still technically considered to be orcs in that situation as far as the book is concerned. But yeah, so I'm glad they're doing it. It's always fun to have kind of a silly army as well for people who are just more interested in that kind of thing. Many people saying that Ultima Underworld was the bomb. First real first-person RPG. Yeah, that was... I remember playing that on my first PC in like 1991. And like, it wasn't even first person like the entire screen. It was like just a corner of the screen is what you were kind of looking at. And then there was like a little diagram over here of your person, and you could see what armor you'd put on what leg and all that kind of junk, and it gave you all that. It gave you the paper doll is what they call it. And then there was a bunch of information across the bottom, but you were only looking at like one quarter of the screen, and you would like move through caverns and stuff like that. And I remember, so I was in college, early college. I had just graduated from high school. And I remember turning the corner as I was playing that game and coming across a humongous spider that was like, to scale, probably 3 feet across on the ground. And it like reared up and like spit, I don't know, spider juice at me or whatever. And I remember yelping, like physically, like, yeah, it startled me so much. And that was, 16-bit graphics probably at the time. But that was a fun game. I enjoyed playing that. That was a lot of fun. Scribjert? That's a tough word to say. Hey, first time catching you live. Just wanted to know, sorry if you've answered this a million times. Any specific reason why you're not covering GW's Middle-earth? Just not interested. I bought the rulebook at Nova Open when they released it, and I've been looking through it, but I just don't play it, and I don't... The thing about the channel is that, and I've had people ask me this before, people are like, well, why don't you cover this game and that game, and you never talk about this and whatnot and all that kind of stuff. And I always kind of have to remind people that this isn't a news channel. You know what I mean? I've had people before saying, well, you can't say that. That's just your opinion. And I'm like, yeah, that is not related to this. But in general, other things, I've had people in the comments being like, you can't say that. That's just your opinion. I'm like, yeah, it isn't. I'm not a journalist. This is not a news channel where I'm supposed to be fair and balanced. This is just me explaining things the way I see them and trying to help people learn about getting into the hobby and stuff like that. I think that, and again, this is not related to you, Scroobjert, whatever. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that. But I've had people say, this is not, we can't take a lot of YouTube and say, well, it's just like what TV used to be, but now it's on YouTube. You know what I mean? Like, it's like when TV first came out, what they started doing was they would just take the radio programs that they used to have on the radio, and they would just have the people stand around, and they would just film them, video them, whatever, reading like the radio programs. And then people are like, okay, well, now I can see that person reading, but it's still just a radio program. You know what I mean? And then it kind of went from there to finally like, well, what if we just built a set and made it a little bit more like a play? And then television kind of became its own medium. I would say internet video to some degree, YouTube specifically, is its own medium, because if you're going to make a news program, like there's this guy, Philip DeFranco, who has a news program where he talks about news, but he also then puts, after he gets done trying to be fair and balanced, then he puts his spin on it and says his thing, and then he wants to know in the comments below, like, what you think about it. That wouldn't generally work in regular television news. Anyway, I'm wandering on. My point is that I don't cover like everything in the breadth and width, of this hobby, because I'm one guy, and secondly, I'm just basically kind of trying to, my main focus is trying to get people into the hobby, and I do that via talking about the stuff that I'm already doing, like playing the games that I play. I've had a lot of people ask me like, "Well, you never talk about Infinity," and I'm like, "Well, I don't play it, you know." So it's that kind of thing. So there's nothing against any of these games. Don't get me wrong. I just kind of stick to the games that I kind of stay in my lane with the games that I know about, hopefully. And I do like to learn about a lot of their games because people ask and I want to have an opinion to some degree, which is why when I go to conventions, one of the big reasons I go to conventions is try to play as many demos as possible, if I can, so that I can have a better, knowledge about a lot of more different types of games. I don't know. That's just pretty much me. All right. So where are we at? We got about 5 minutes left. What else have we got? People talking about a couple of different types of games. William G says, with 3D printing, I may just make some ships myself to go with the rules. That's referring to a different game. Age of Sail, it looks like. Yeah, I mean, you can kind of do that. It depends on the 3D printer, frequently. I was recently looking at, speaking of resin printers, Form Labs, who are probably the top of the line kind of resin printers that are within the kind of prosumer or consumer kind of space. They have a deal now. It's not like a sale. It's just like a bundle where you can get their Form 2, which is a spectacular printer, and then you can get a device that, like, you take the plate out of the printer because resin printers print upside down. You take the plate out and you put it into this other machine, and that machine washes all the excess stuff off. And then after you're done with that, then you take that thing and you move it into another machine, which then just bombards it with UV light to harden it and cure it up. You can get all 3 of those pieces for $5,000, which is a lot. And I was like, well, that's a pretty good deal though, because that just the printer alone used to be $4,500, and the 2 of those things together are like $1,000 almost. So now getting all 3 of those things for $5,000, I'm like, that's a pretty good deal. And I was like, what the heck am I gonna? I mean, it's awesome that in this day and age you can basically manufacture things like that yourself in the basement or whatever, and that's great. But I don't know that it would be a great. I don't know. I just don't see, like, I don't know what. I would have to come up with a really good, almost business plan to figure out why I would even bother, as opposed to just like, because I've already got a 3D printer, so I can 3D print stuff. I just can't 3D print like models and really tiny stuff and make it look real nice. I can do terrain though, fine. Well, pretty fine. But yeah, so I don't know. But I think I'm just really addicted to gadgets. That's part of it. That's part of the reason that the channel kind of started, is because I like video and photo and audio and all that kind of junk. And so I wanted to learn more and thought I should make videos about something that I was already a hobby. And so nearly 6 years later, here we are. It'll be 6 years in beginning of March, actually. So Thanos says, something I would enjoy in 2019 is once a month interview show with painters on the channel, a more in-depth 6-question for pro painters. Whoops. My headphones. Yeah, I would like to do something like that as well. I need to figure out, like, I would love to have guests on this show once in a while, and I just need to kind of figure out, Lord knows we have some other technical difficulties from time to time with the freezing video, which in the future I should hopefully be able to fix by unplugging the cam link from the PC, not turning the camera off. Yeah, so, and I also will look for a firmware update for that thing. That might help too. Anyway, but I need to figure out also a good way to get, like, somewhere over here, like a floating head kind of thing, where I can be talking to somebody specifically and do that. There are shows out there that do that. There are people out there that are obviously, like, if you go look at, like, they don't film as regularly as they used to anymore, but the Andy and Rem show over on Andy 2D6 over on his channel, his is like, like that was him and Rem are different cities. Him and Remington are different cities, and they do that. But they're doing it all through Google Hangouts, which, number one, Google is getting rid of Google Hangouts, so that's problematic. Number two, the quality is not of Google Hangouts. It's not any fault of Andy or Rem's, but the quality, the video streaming quality, is not great from Google Hangouts. So that's why I would probably try to stick with this thing, but I need to figure out maybe using Discord in the future, where we could use that, because Skype stinks. But yeah, maybe have like some sort of window again over here or whatever, and I'd have to be wearing headphones so I could hear the person and all that. But then we could have a conversation. I'm looking into going that direction as well. I think that'd be fun, because it would just be a little bit more interesting in some of these shows to maybe have someone other than me to be able to answer some of these questions. So yeah, looking at that. Let me see here. What else? Dev Anubis says, speaking of comic relief, in my early days, I had a Night Goblins fantasy battle army, and a kit bashed a musician with a full drum kit on his back and a snotling playing it. They're 100% comic relief. Oh yeah, no, back then Night Goblins were the comic relief for fantasy, that's for sure. And I'm glad they're kind of bringing that back a little bit in Age of Sigmar. I think that's cool. Definitely. So, all right. George says, I had not heard the Hangouts were going away. This saddens me. Google does it all the time. They find something and then they get rid of stuff. They're making a new product, which is called, I think, Google Meet, which, if you don't read that, you could think the wrong thing, but it's not. It's MEET, Google Meet, and it's for basically like meetings and stuff like that. Like, we still use that, and it's different than Hangouts, but normal Hangouts is, from what I understand, is being sunsetted. I don't know if that's the right term, but yeah. So yeah, pretty much. Okay, well, it's 11 o'clock, so again, I apologize for the technical difficulties we had there. I hope that it was interesting to watch me trying to focus on my own face repeatedly. It probably wasn't, but I appreciate it. And I appreciate everyone who kind of stuck around, and I'm looking forward to 2019. I hope you're looking forward to 2019 in general. You should be, because it's coming whether you want it or not. I mean, it's here, technically, but the rest of it is coming. But I just wanted to also kind of touch base and talk a little bit about plans I've got for the channel and stuff like that. Like I said, I want to be able to do more of these every other Monday recorded shows, like the Hobby Progress vlog and stuff like that. And I also want to be able to do the some of the kind of narrative sort of stories, little short films, and some other stuff as well. Hot mess, other things as they come. Maybe some video game streaming, little tiny bits of Paint Break here and there. And then I hope I see you at a convention near you. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for sitting through all the shenanigans with all this stuff. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks. And thanks for watching.